Hello, fans, friends, and DIY enthusiasts. This is Tommy Maloney, the DIY Do It Yourself Guru. Happy to be back at DIY headquarters here in Gumboro, Delaware. Excuse me one second. Hey, Karina, could you get that dog to shut up, please? As I was saying, happy to be back at DIY headquarters here in Gumboro, Delaware with my brother in law and right hand man, Merle. Say hello to the fans, Merle. Well, we received a lot of cards and letters from you asking where we've been. Well, unfortunately, we took an unprecipitated vacation courtesy of the state of Delaware. About a year ago, our DIY job slowed down to a trickle. We couldn't figure it out. The more of these DIY videos we showed, the less business we got. But entrepreneur that I am, I started a second business, this one in personal loans. Merle here, he was in charge of my collections department. We charged a weekly VIG of 50%, and we're raking in a lot of cash. Until one day the cops showed up at my door. Then some stupid judge gave us 11 months for violating something he called usury laws. Usury. I swear these guys make this stuff up. Anyway, jail wasn't that bad. Me and Merle were roommates, and we set up a little cafe in our cell serving grilled cheese off the radiator. But now we're back and ready to tackle all DIY projects. The topic of today's DIY vinaigrettes is how to repair a copper water pipe. Me and Merle, we got this job from old man Herzog, the crotchety old guy who lives down the street. You might remember him. We installed a split rail fence in his yard, and there was a little mishap involving a broken water line. No fault of ours, of course. He was mad at us until I saw him at the track and gave him a tip on a horse. The horse won, and the old geezer walked away with a big wad of cash. So we got over his hissy fit, and as a peace gesture, he hired us to fix a water leak in his basement. So this morning, I picked up Merle, and after our obligatory pit stop at the Velvet Lounge, we head over to the Herzog Hacienda. He greets us with some wisecrack about being late and smelling like beer. Hey, we only had a couple of shots. I tell you, there's no pleasing this old crank. So he takes us down in his basement and shows us the leak. It's in the corner of the basement where the meter comes in through the wall of the house. It was what we in the business call a pinhole leak. I tell him to relax, go about his business, and we'll be done in nothing flat. So he goes upstairs, leaving us to work our DIY magic. It looked like a simple job. We needed to solder in a new section of pipe using the trusty old propane torch. So I shut the water off and cut out the bad section of pipe. Well, in retrospection, maybe we should have drained the system before I cut that pipe. It was a 2-story house, so little water ran out on the basement floor. I mean, it wasn't bad, no more than a couple of feet deep. And anyway, the carpet probably needed to be replaced, so no big deal. You know what I'm saying? But the real dilemma was that after the water drained, the pipe kept dripping. And as we master plumbers know, as long as there's water in the pipe, you cannot solder a joint. Well, here again, old pros like me and Merle are not to be stymied, as we are masters of the old bread trick. See, what you do is you take a piece of bread, you stick it into the leaky pipe, and that absorbs the water long enough to solder the pipe. When you turn the water back on, the bread blows right through the system like kitty litter through a screen door. Bada bing, bada boom. Well, we didn't have any bread except for a hoagie roll, as Merle had brought along a cheesesteak from the grease trap, Gus's grease trap down here in Gumboro for his lunch. So we start cramming the hoagie roll into the water pipe. Then we try to torch again, but the starter still won't take. I guess the hoagie roll didn't do the job. I don't know, these things happen. So as I decided it's time to extraditionarily break out the big gun, I sent Merle over to Dolan's 2 Rental for an acetylene torch. He gets back with the torch, and Maron, this thing is a behemoth. 2 tanks on a dolly, each 5 foot tall and weighing at least 300 pounds. It was huge. Merle wrestles it down into the basement, and I fire that baby up to max capacity. In 10 seconds, that pipe was hotter than a $10 pistol. It's glowing like a red-hot cherry. I could hear the water boiling in the pipe, and this cloudy stuff was shooting through the joints. What do you call that stuff, Merle? Smoke? Vapor? What is that?
Steam.
Steam, that's right, steam. So the steam was shooting through the pipe joints, but then I smelled something burning. I looked to where the pipe comes through the wall, and there's smoke pouring through the wood paneling. Then there's flames. Apparently, on the torch was too hot. The controls on it were too hot. Must have been defective. So me and Merle are stumbling around. We're bumping into each other, trying to find our way to the steps. But the whole room was thick with black smoke. The last thing I remember was this huge explosion. Boom. Well, as to the unfortunate events that transpired after that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd rather not dwell on it. Suffice it to say, had it not been for the speedy response of the brave men and women of the Gumboro Fire Department, me and Merle could have been seriously injured or maybe even killed, God forbid. I guess that's what we get for trying to help out a senior citizen. As to old man Herzog's house, well, there's still a good foundation to build on, and his insurance might cover new construction. If not, hey, he's got a son up in Philly, so I figure he can move in with him. So he's got options, you know what I'm saying? The only problem is that he sicked a couple of pencil neck insurance inspectors on us, and they're asking for a plumbing license. Those shtucks. We could have been killed, and they're nitpicking over some Mickey Mouse license. Incredible. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, if you're thinking about repairing a leaky copper water pipe, my advice is simple. Don't do it. Pay the money, get a contractor, don't do it. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, Merle and I would like to thank you for participating in our ongoing YouTube series in which we provide specific steps on how to handle any DIY home improvement project. See you next time.